it's a good point about the pandemic, Dan. How much is it? I mean, just to add on that point, and we won't hang around too much on this because I don't think I could talk too much about the pandemic without going mad slowly but surely. We have to stop it eventually, but we can't at the minute. It is the backdrop of the this decade probably. But how much did it change things? How much did it accelerate things?
Well, I think what you've just said there is exactly how it changed things. It was down to the acceleration of these areas. We've spoken to organisations who had a 2-year plan to implement things like Microsoft Teams across the business. They managed to do it in about 2 or 3 weeks in the first few months of the pandemic because they needed to mobilise people to be able to work from home. But just building on what the point Danny was making before as well, these solutions are maturing all the time. But obviously, the other bit that's changing is customer expectations and the ways in which customers expect services to be provided, which then drives organisational changes and further requirements to change systems as well. So there's that constant evolution. So and moving away from the impact of the pandemic, this was the way that the trends were going to be. So things like having to work out your best resources to send out. Making sure that your highly skilled ones can be available from a central location and you're not having to send them out on the road all the time. And you can leverage things like mixed reality so that that person can provide support from a remote location. You're not having to send the most expensive resource out around the world on the road constantly, and you're able to maximize the time they can provide support to your customers. So it's that, other than the fact that all of these trends were accelerated during the pandemic, it's those sorts of trends that are going to continue now that we're coming out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where the dust lands. I'm put my teeth in. I'm murdering that phrase. I can't remember exactly, but wherever the dust lies or whatever it is, you know what I'm trying to say. The world's going to be a very, very different place. Kevin, I suppose the one thing that I thought was interesting was this leaning towards the platform. But it wasn't as big as I would have thought. Now, obviously, you guys understand that play better than anybody else. You understand the benefits of the integration, and like we've said a few times, it's not a tick box to get that 360-degree view. There's a lot of moving parts in field service, and increasingly so. What give us the benefits of the platform, because I was surprised that so many companies kind of I thought that would have been more weighted towards platform personally, having looked at it, and I'd like to get your thoughts on that, and where are the benefits of the platform approach, and perhaps
of course, yeah. So I would like to use the analogy that Danny used of the car. Okay, so for me, it's not about having the engines, the seats, the wheels, etc., etc. It's about how the oil or how the petrol flows through that vehicle to make it move forward. Okay, so organizations will implement systems for field service, for customer relationship management, for marketing, for all manner of different facets of their organization. But the question is, how well does the business data, customer data, flow through the organization? Are you a data-driven business, and therefore can drive a lot of the, whether it's automation, the metrics, the way you serve that customer? Is it connected? Is it joined up? And that's really the difference between having a platform play and having a best of breed approach. You can do integrations of systems. That's nothing new. There's lots of APIs, as you said, that can facilitate that approach. However, do you seamlessly get data flowing between integrated systems as you would do in a platform through, for example, the Microsoft Dataverse, which is at the heart of the Microsoft technologies? So we're working with organizations to understand how they become a data-driven, data-led business, which then drives out all of the needles out of the haystack in terms of how the customer engagement is really understood and measured, allowing you to, as I said, to break down the customer journey, have a look at that data, how it flows, and then you can put in the various the measuring points within that process to allow you to serve that customer and increase the value you're providing across the board. And I think just to touch on something that Dan says as well, organizations are really adjusting to the customer demands. Customers today have a different expectations that they did 10, 15, 20 years ago. There's more of an immediacy. So they expect that Department A, Department B, and Department C to have all my data and can tell me what Department C said to me 5 minutes ago if I'm being transferred. So it's less about the technology and more about how connected state you are in terms of understanding that whole customer data journey, nuances, et cetera, and drive automation that could even drive self-service. So if I log into a portal, I want to see all the data that you hold on me through my portal. I want to see my marketing preferences. I want to see what service I provide. I also want to see what services as an organization you are potentially able to provide me as affiliate services, so non-core solution set. And it really, as I said, it really comes down to having that progressive self-help. Everything is very visible and transparent, external to the organization, so almost an outside-in view rather than inside-out view. And I think customers really understand that. And we go back to some of the examples that we gave earlier. The Ubers and the Amazon. I know what data Amazon holds on me. I know what information Uber holds. I know what taxi driver is turning up. I know when he's going to show up. I know what information he has about me. It's about being empowered. My data empower me to help you deliver the service that I require. And that's really where I think the difference between having a platform that gives you that holistic view of me versus having a best of breed connected state, which works as an organization, but it doesn't give you the optimal setup to give me what I need.
Yeah.
I think if I can just add to that as well, I think one thing that's maybe missing from that figure is a little bit of context around who was responding to the question within an organization. Because if we look at the developers of all of these pieces of software, every single one of them says our platform can integrate seamlessly to anything else out there on the market, and it's sold like that. And let's take two roles within an organization, someone in the executive team and someone in the IT team. Someone in the executive team will listen to that, they'll believe that, and they'll understand that it meets their needs. Someone in the IT team has a much greater knowledge of what it takes to integrate platform A to platform B, and they can understand the implications and the time that it's going to take to create that integration. So I think maybe there's a little bit of context missing from that number, and I believe that number's a little bit low based on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one there as well, because also there's also that you only know what you're missing when you don't have it kind of approach. From the operational side of things, we suddenly see that data that I need, that maybe nobody else in the business knows that I need that data, but that data that I need as a request on my reports. That's the piece that's missing. That's the bit that's not seamless, and sometimes it's not that visible.
If I can just add a point there, Kris. So if you look at that slightly reversed in the sense there, so we all know that all organizations now in Europe are governed by the sort of GDPR. Yeah, so the ICO are really, really strong on managing customer data. Okay, now many organizations will have system A, B, C, and D might be connected in some way to share operational data to be shared across them. But when you have a data request, please remove me from your systems because I've had a marketing emails. Now, typically what happens is an organization has to go through an exercise, quite painful exercise, to now look at all the different systems that they have and remove me as a customer from all of those systems. And that gives you the illustration of having a platform approach means, because the data is held irrespective of the systems in a single place, you can simply just remove the data without having to go through that whole song and dance of investigating systems, understanding where it sits, impact, etc. And that's, if you flip on the head, that's a great example of the data platform. Sorry, a platform versus an integrated state business.